Welcome everyone, thanks for joining me. It is that time again for another pre-release guide, and this is what my channel does best. Today we're talking about March of the Machine. I'm going to get you ready for your pre-release and beyond, giving you important information about the entire set. What are the important things you need to know so that you can be playing this set optimally? Let's dive in. The first thing we should discuss is that every single pack is going to have a Multiverse Legends card in it. Much in the way Brothers War had the retro artifacts and Strixhaven had the mystical archive spells, this time we're getting extraordinarily strong legendary creatures in every single pack. Now, the power of those creatures varies greatly, but all the same, every single pack is going to have extra creatures to build your decks around. Expect this to be a creature bomb heavy set, so you'll need to have a plan to work around these bombs. Have ways to remove them and have ways to win before some of the biggest ones hit the board, because I don't think you can win against some of these cards. I will cover these Multiverse Legend cards in detail in a separate video. Let's now move on to the next most important thing about this set. Incubate is arguably the most important mechanic in this set, period. It is going to be set defining, so much so that this set maybe should have been called March of the Incubate. It's an incredible mechanic that deserves our full attention, and if you want to play this set well, you need to be incubating well and playing with the mechanic and interacting with the mechanic correctly. So let's cover Incubate in detail. It's that important no matter what color you're playing. Incubate is when an ability tells you to make an Incubate token, and it'll say Incubate X, Incubate 3, Incubate 2. The number after Incubate indicates how many +1/+1 counters you should put on the incubator token. If it says Incubate 3, you'd put 3 +1/+1 counters on the incubator token. At that point, it is not a creature, it is an artifact. However, at any point in the game, at instant speed, when you have priority, you can pay 2 mana and transform this artifact into a creature. The creature has a base power toughness 0/0, but it keeps all of the 1/1 counters. So if it had 3 1/1 counters on it, at instant speed for 2 mana, you can make a 3/3 creature. This also counts as a permanent transforming if you have transform matter cards in your deck. But the more important part of this is that all of this can happen at instant speed. And anytime in Magic you have the ability for people to play instant speed creatures, no matter what color they're playing, this is a massively powerful move. Okay, because what it forces your opponent to do is to have instant speed responses or removal of their own. So, sorceries go down in rating drastically, and instant speed interaction flies up off the chart in terms of importance. So, flash on creatures, instant speed interaction, all of these things are going to be very important for the set for you to be able to keep pace with your opponent making creatures on your end step, or after you've assigned attackers and before blockers are assigned. And that's why this is so set defining. Every single color has access to these incubator tokens. So that means every single color has access to instant speed flash in creature synergies in this set. So if there's flash creatures and every color can flash in a creature at instant speed, then your removal needs to be able to keep pace with that. Let's talk about ways we can maximize this ability to give us the greatest advantage possible. Although incubator tokens sitting on the board as a present threat are going to definitely impact whether your opponent attacks into you or not, the best incubator token is the one that they don't see coming. So if you can find ways to instant speed make an incubator token and flip it at the same time, that's when you'll see the biggest blowouts in your favor. The easiest way to do this trick is to use scroll shift and target any permanent that you have that creates an incubate token upon ETB. It'll basically flicker that, create the new token, and then you're going to pay 2 more mana to flip it. 5 mana, instant speed, extra creature, plus whatever the ETB other benefits on that card are. It's pretty great. This combo gets even more powerful when you have a creature like Chromehost Seedshark on the board. Chromehost Seedshark is going to be an absolute bomb of a rare. I mean, it could be printed as mythic. Any single instant speed trick, removal, spell can become an instant speed creature as well. Real gross stuff, all at instant flash speed. Of course, my favorite combo in the entire set revolves around Chromehost Seedshark and Ephra's Dispersal. If you have a Chrome Host Seed Shark on the board and your opponent swings into you and attacks, you can use Ephra's Dispersal and cast it for only 1 mana. This allows you to return a creature that's attacking you to its owner's hand for 1 mana, which is a great value in and of itself. You'll then Surveil 2, which means you can set up your draws or your graveyard. And on top of that, you're also making a 3/3 Incubator token. And because you only spent 1 mana on the Dispersal during their attack phase, and it's before blockers are assigned, you can then spend that 2 mana that you would have otherwise spent and make a 3/3 creature. So for 3 mana total, if you have a Chrome Host Seed Shark on the board, you can bounce a creature, Surveil 2, and make a 3/3, all for 3 mana. It's just a lot for very little mana. The last combo you can do with these Phyrexian tokens is instant speed, changing the base power toughness of the card itself. And yes, the counters stack on top of changing the base power. So if you're using Vengeant Earth, you're going to have a 7/7 in this instance with a base power 4/4 and 3/1/1 counters. That's a 7/7 for 2 mana out of nowhere. Same with Shapecraft, except on top of it, you get to draw an extra card. This trick is absolutely insane in this format. Let's move on to color analysis and what does the set want from each color. Let's start with white. White cares a lot about 1/1 counters, and it uses counters in a multitude of ways. It has backup creatures that can support an aggro style build. It has creatures that care about 1/1 counters being put on it, and it also has really good synergies with Incubate. White has one of my favorite instant speed tricks in Scroll Shift, where you can bounce permanents to make more Incubator tokens, and then there's also synergies that you can have with the Tiller of Flesh that coincide with that. I would say White's looking very solid in terms of 1/1 counters and Incubate. White also has a sub-theme of Knights in it, and going wide with Knights is still a thing. It's good. You're probably going to play Knights with blue. I don't believe that either of those things play exclusively from one another. You can certainly play backup Knights or Incubator Knights or all three together. Further, White has some incredible bombs involving caring about enchantments or non-creature spells. Jeskai Spells is back with Monastery Mentor. Anytime you can make a creature from casting a non-creature spell, you're doing some pretty amazing things usually. It's just really good. And prowess is absolutely spectacular, making a bunch of 1/1s that have prowess even better. And White's control to pair with these types of spells and enchantments, matters, builds is really good. White's control looks playable with any spells deck, whether you're playing Jeskai Spells or you're going Boros aggro and you want some spells to back it up, or you're going blue-white Knights with spells. There's really no way you can go wrong with White spells. On top of that, an incredible bomb in Elesh Norn and Sunfall, in that they are board wipes that also become these crazy win cons that are absolutely incredible. Moving on to blue. Blue's a bit of an interesting color in this set. It does care about non-creature spells, as blue always does. They give you quite a few counter-target spells in the set, and tap-down spells as well, with a few bounce spells for tempo. It has ways to draw cards, and it has its usual array of enchantments that nerf creatures on the other side of the board. I think blue's win cons are finicky. I'm not saying they're bad, they're just finicky, because you don't have spells like Rise of the Tides that can in and of themselves just say, okay, you've already stalled, bounced, and removed your opponent's threats enough. You have enough value accrued in the graveyard. You can now make creatures swing in and win. Congratulations. There's nothing like that. Instead, you have to have enablers on the board that give you creatures from your spells, such as, the shark or the monk. And you have to have ways that your spells that you are casting are getting you creature value. Because at the end of the day, you're still going to need to swing in blue to win, for damage. So creatures that have evasion or flying in blue become the win cons, in addition to controlling the pace of the game with blue spells and the amount of value you can accrue with drawing cards. This is where blue teaming up with red or white or both for Jeskai Spells becomes much more tempting, because that's where you can get creature payouts for the spells that you're casting. It's really important that if you go into a blue spells deck, you have ways that your spells are also making creatures. Blue is also the home to maybe my favorite 1-drop in the entire set, the Omen Hawker. You get Omen Hawker on the board on turn 1, and turn 2, you can be incubating a 3/3 that's pretty strong. It also can help pay for these transform costs of a lot of these creatures that like to transform, and the price to transform is pretty high. The Omen Hawker, as an enabler in a deck, has the potential to just gain you so much value off of a 1-drop. Let's be real, black is always about the removal. The removal suite here, it's okay. It's good. It's not like amazing, it's good. And you're going to want it because of the Multiverse Legend cards that are so powerful. You're going to have threats you need to remove immediately. So if black's the way you have to go to do that, yeah, you're probably going to end up playing black. Black also features a few Mind Rot type cards where you're making your opponent discard cards for card advantage. And it also has some really interesting little ways to control the game. It can be kind of fun. I think black cares about Phyrexian creatures way more than any other color. And remember, all of the incubate tokens transform into Phyrexians, so it's pretty easy to build Phyrexian tribal using black. Black also has an element that it cares about sacrifice. Red-black sacrifice is something you could consider playing. Black also cares very much about what's in your graveyard, whether that's through sacrifice, black-blue mill, black-white control. Every single aspect of black does care about what's in your graveyard and what's in your opponent's graveyard. It is going to be important if you're playing black, so graveyard shenanigans is very much a thing. But oh baby, red. Red is coming in hot, quite literally. And from what I can see, the red burn looks really, really good. Now there's a few cards, such as Rouse Reinforcements, that I wish was an instant speed card, but even at sorcery speed, this is very good. So red has a lot of good burn stormcasting ability. On top of it, what makes red even more on fire is I have not seen this much haste printed in a set in a long time. Red haste is real, and it is coming at you hot. I can feel the tempo of red from here. Red is going to play so fast. It's going to be hard to keep up with. Red You're Dead will be a thing in this set. It is powerful. And especially Trailblazing Historian, watch out for that 2-drop. It being able to give anything haste is just incredibly insane. Not only that, red has some pretty crazy finishers if you get to enough mana, but I don't even think red's going to get to these late games. Let's be real, red's going to win pretty fast in this set. Red also has an incredible support team of some playable equipments and creatures that give backup and modify your creatures with 1/1 counters, first strike, double strike, and enablers that are great targets for backup, like the Depth Guard. I think this is maybe one of the best 3-drops in the format, in that it's very easy on turn 4 to make this into a 5/4 and start swinging in. It's going to be good. Red also has the ability to take things a little bit slower if you wanted and focus more on just Sky and non-creature spell nonsense and battles, but, it's a more dawdly red. I'm not sure you need to slow yourself down if you're playing red by attacking battles. A really good red aggro deck should be very difficult to beat in this format. Moving on to green. Green cares the most about 1/1 counters out of any color. So it pairs well with white, it pairs well with backup, it plays well with incubate synergies. The more 1/1 counters, the better. Basically, you can either go big or you can go wide. Either way, 1/1 counters is what it cares about the most. Of course, it wouldn't be green unless it gave you ways to ramp your mana and fix your mana. So there are plenty of ways to go get land or ramp your land for the big threats that you want to play when you're playing green, and those finishers that are absolutely incredibly strong. Green also has some value plays, allowing you to get more creatures or resources, and it also has its normal, okay removal, but nothing great. It does have one of my favorite combat tricks in the set with Vengeant Earth, and it also has Adaption. Both are okay. Green is one of the few ways to fix mana in the set, and Blight and Budgeoning is one way to do that, and the other way is going to be Skittering Surveyor. But playing green does have its upsides in that you can play 3, 4, 5 color nonsense if you feel like you really want to. I think the sweet spot's going to be 2 colors splashing a third or 3 colors straight out, but if you want to play 4 colors, sure, go for it. Artifacts in this set are nothing to write home about. There's some that are pretty good, but none that really need to be talked about in depth. They're okay. And now for the final thoughts. Every single color can be played with any other color. I don't think there's a single color that's better than any other color. Every single color combo has multiverse legends that are worth playing in your deck. I mean, even green-blue has some legend cards that are just absolute bombs that you should absolutely play. So I think, when making your deck and choosing what colors you're going to be playing, you're going to really need to look at your bombs. What do the best cards that you have want you to be doing? Can you synergize with those mechanics enough? How many colors do you need to play to get those synergies really rolling? Hopefully it's only 2 colors or 1 color. Sometimes you might have to play 3. But I think that the set overall is flexible enough with its mechanics and 1/1 counters and backup and incubate tokens that you will be able to shape any combination of colors into the synergies that you're going to need to play those multiverse legends cards to their fullest. Last thing you need to keep in mind is that this is a creature-focused set. Even though there is a extremely good and viable spells deck and spells build around, I do encourage you to remember that at some point you do need to have a creature to swing in, even though most of your deck might be spells. So be careful with the spells deck. Make sure you have some win cons if you're playing that way. For the most part, the set as a whole is going to be very creature focused, so account for that. Because red and white both have such good aggressive starts, I think it's going to be very important no matter what color you're playing to make sure that you have a presence on the board turn 2. I mean, this is nothing new. It's not quite as important as Phyrexia All Will Be One with the poison counters, but it is still going to be really important to have that early interaction and make sure that the board doesn't get out of control too fast. The last thing I want to cover is pre-release specific. Every single pre-release pack in this set also comes with a promo card that is not supposed to be played at pre-release. So it's going to have the regular promo that you can play, and then it's going to have one of these 3 cards in the pack as well. Theoretically, you're not supposed to play with these 3 cards in your sealed pool. It's just a promo for you to take home, have fun, and it can be played in Commander. That being said, I know that some pre-release places are a little bit looser with its rules, so if you see this card, just know you're not actually supposed to play with it. Thanks for joining me for my pre-release guide. I'm a very small channel, so every like, every subscribe, every comment means so much to me. Go rock your pre-release, build some awesome decks. I know you will. Thanks for your support.